Welcome to the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator tutorial. Once you purchase the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator, you are then directed to Generations webpage, which has the downloads for the installation. As I scroll down on this webpage, you do see two boxes that say Download Now. One is for a 64-bit Windows version, and one is for a 32-bit Windows version. You must determine what version of Windows you are running. Usually you can find this in your system properties. If you are running a Windows 64-bit system and you're running Generations, you do need to download and install both files. And don't worry, one registration will work for both. So I am running on a Windows 7 64-bit, so I'm going to download both versions. I'm going to left click on the Download Now button. At the bottom of my screen, it asks me if I'd like to run or save the installation file. I would like to save this, so I then am going to use the Save function. I will use the drop-down arrow because I would like to use the Save As. When I use the Save As, it allows me to put it in a specific directory. I am on my desktop, and on my desktop, I'm going to make a new folder specifically for this download. When I click on New Folder, you see that my new folder appears, and here I can name it. I'm going to name this Gens Plus AIC, and then hit Enter. I will double click to open that, and now I will put this file, which is already named, and save it within that folder. I'll go ahead and hit the Save button and let it save to that folder. The next one I'm going to download is the 64-bit. We'll do the same exact thing. I'll left click on the Download Now button. I'll then go down to Save and Save As. I can see that I am on that same folder. If you're not sure, you can navigate through this box, this dialog box, and make sure that you are in the folder that you want to download it to. Once we have chosen the location, we will then hit the Save button. As it's saving, you'll see that the status at the bottom if you are running Internet Explorer. Since my downloads have completed, I will now close out the Internet Explorer. When I close it out, I am shown my desktop again, which I have made a file folder specifically for the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator. I will double click to open this file folder, and after I double click to open it, you now see that I have two installation files. One is the 32-bit and one is the 64-bit. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 64-bit application. I will double click to run, and it asks me if I would like to run this file. I'll go ahead and say yes, I do want to run it, just by left clicking on Run. I will then follow the prompts on the installation, read through the license agreement, agree to the license agreement, and keep going. I want to keep the installation folder as is, so we'll just hit Next here. And then Next one more time. It will go through the installation of the software into our computer. And we'll just wait for that installation to complete. After the installation has completed, we'll go ahead and hit the Close button. You can now see I do have a Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator 64 icon on my desktop. We will now install the 32-bit one. So I will left double click, hit the Run button, and run through an installation again. Once the installation is completed, we'll hit the Close button. You'll notice that I do have two icons on my desktop, and when I do access one icon, the settings in the other program or the other icon will also adhere to that one. So I'll close this out, and when I first run the Generations Automatic Icon Creator, I will double click to start it. To register your retail version, you will receive an email, And in that email, it is very important to copy and paste the name and serial number exactly as it appears from the email. Since I'm going to register the retail version, I'll go ahead and hit continue. Now it'll ask me for the name, organization, and serial number. The name and the serial number are required. The organization is not required, it's optional. So I'm going to open up my email, and I received my email code. My name, I'll go ahead and highlight it, right click on it, and copy. Go back to the icon creator, right click on it, and paste. The serial number, I'll go ahead and select it, right click, copy, select it, right click, and paste. Once I have finished with the serial number, I will hit the continue button and just left click on the continue button. After clicking continue, the registration process is complete. Now remember, it does register it for both the 32-bit and 64-bit versions if you have them both installed on your computer. After it's registered, the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator preferences immediately appear. While in this preference screen, I do need to decide what file types I would like to show as thumbnails within my Windows Explorer. With the embroidery files, an easy way to select all of them, and you can see there are a plethora of files that are available, I can left click on the button that says select all EMB types. When I left click to select that, that will now highlight all of them. I'll go ahead and press OK just so we can see a preview of what this looks like. I may have to reboot for any changes to take effect, so do keep that in mind if you don't see the changes right away. I'll just go ahead and press OK. I will then open up my folder that has my designs in there, which is under Computer. And remember, I am going through Windows Explorer. I'll go to my desktop, and in my desktop I have a folder called My Designs. I will left double click to open that, and now you can see my designs appear. And with them appearing, as I move over on top of a design, it shows me what file type it is, the stitches, the color stops, and the height and the width. You can choose millimeters or inches, and that is in our preferences. I'm going to go ahead and close this out because I'm also going to show you what other things can do. You also have a preview pane on the right hand side. Now this you see a lot in Windows 7. You can turn the preview pane on or off on the right hand side of our Windows Explorer, where it says hide the preview pane or show the preview pane. You also have the ability to change the icon size or the thumbnail size just by using the drop down arrow next to the change your view icon, and you can make them much extra large icons, large, medium, small. You can do a list, details, tiles, and content. So those preferences on the size of your thumbnails are going to be within your Windows Explorer. Let's go ahead and close that out and go back and reopen the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator. Now remember, if I do have both installed, if I change one, it's changing the other. If you'd like to deselect your embroidery file types, there's also a button here that says Clear All Selections, and that includes the other file types as well, such as quilt files or graphic files, and that can clear everything. Let's go ahead and choose Generation File. So we'll scroll up and we'll choose a Generations file. With the .gen file, I can associate it to open up with the Generations program by coming up here to File Association. I left click, and now I have to find where that file executable is stored. For Generations specifically, it's stored within my C drive, so I left click on my C drive. Under the SuperTech folder, I will double click to open the SuperTech folder, then double click to open the Generations folder. As I scroll down, I'll find gens.exe. That's the executable file that opens Generations. I left click on that and select Open. Now, see here that I did select only the gen file format. If I had multiple file formats, then I would have all of those associate with generations. Although with stitch files are associated with the import function within generations, not the open function. So if you do try to file associate a stitch file with generations, it may give you an error message. But let's say, for example, I want to open the Janome format with another program. I will left click on Janome, and you can see that when I left click on Janome, generations is still selected. So I need to left click off the generations. Once that's deselected, I then go to a file association and I can choose the program that I want to associate it with. After you do that, you can hit open and it'll bring you back to the preferences. We're going to select all EMB types here. I'm also going to select graphic files. I will left click, single left click on each graphic file format. And in addition, if you do have quilt files, you can select them as well. Once I press OK, it will save those settings. Again, we may have to reboot, so we'll just click OK. To check and see if we can see these thumbnails within the Windows Explorer, I will go ahead and open up my file folders that I have my designs in, my generations files, and my artwork. So I'm going to find my designs, and in here it's just on the desktop, so I'll just left double click. When I left double click, again you can see those files as thumbnails. But again, if you want to change the size of the thumbnail, we can left click on that and change the size. As we saw before, if we hover our mouse over one of the file formats, it shows us the file type, the stitch count, the colors, and the width and height in inches or millimeters, and that's within our preferences, if we want to choose inches or millimeters. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and I'm going to double click on my generations files. When I select my generations files, I do have some files that are .gen. And if I look at the .gen files down at the bottom right hand corner of the icon or of the thumbnail, you can see the generations icon. That means that this file is associated with generations. Let's see that a little bit larger, and you can see through here that my file is associated with generations because it does have that generations icon. Let's go ahead and choose my artwork. You can see my artwork also shows as thumbnails, and these are things like JPEGs, WMF, BMP, and others. So we'll go ahead and minimize these two and go back to the icon creator preferences. So I left double click to get to the preferences. The next button that we see down at the bottom is the clear icon cache. With that, that's kind of like resetting our thumbnails within here. So if you ever see any problems with viewing your thumbnails, sometimes we suggest clicking on this clear icon cache, and that way it'll kind of refresh your computer with the icons. You also have the ability to disable the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator. I suggest doing this if you do want to uninstall the program. So click on that and then go and uninstall your program. Other buttons that we see in this program at the upper right hand side is the OK button that goes ahead and confirms our preferences. The file association is going to be for your file types that you choose individually or in a group to open with a certain program. Cancel will cancel out any option that you choose. About will tell you information about the program. And then you also have help files. When you left click on the help files, you can see in here that you do have contents, index, search, and favorites. In here you can go through the contents and select any option to read more on those functions. We can just close this out just by hitting the close button. Now we also have a Windows Explorer display criteria. I am working on Windows 7 because you do see that some of these options are not going to be available in Windows XP, just because Windows XP does not have the same characteristics as Windows 7. First of all, there's an open preview pane. With that checkmarked, I'll go ahead and open my designs. You can see here this is my preview pane. So when I left click on the actual design or the file, you can see in my preview pane what I've associated with you know, what program I've associated it with, how many stitches it has, how many colors, width, and height. So it shows a nice big thumbnail in your actual preview pane. With the preview pane shut off, I go up here at the top, I can hide the preview pane, and that's with no preview pane. So automatically, if I do have the open preview pane selected, it will automatically open up that preview pane for us. The next option is showing the texture in the preview pane. If you left click to select this, this will show you, especially on your stitch files, the stitch texture that you may see when it's stitched out. So I'll go ahead and press OK. Once we press OK, we'll press OK again, and we may have to reboot. I'm going to go ahead and open up my designs again, and we'll look at a design. Actually look at it a little bit larger, and we can see here we are seeing more of what the stitches may look like. See more of that stitch texture than we did before. So that's what that does with the stitch texture. Let's go ahead and close that out and get back to our preferences. The next one, show icons in zip files. When we do have zip files and they are all zipped up, when we do open them, we will see the icons once the zip file has been opened up. So let's go ahead and press OK. And we'll find a zip file that has different embroidery files in that to see our icons. Now my zip files are stored within my documents. I'm going to show you a couple different zip files because I'll show you how this icon creator works. I'll go to Start and then go to my documents. I'm going to scroll down and find the first zip file, which is 206457. I'll right click on it and I will open the archive with JZip, and this is one program that we do recommend because we know that you can see your zip files within this archive. Now you can see that when I do open it up, I have my icons here. Now there's another thing. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go to my other zip file, right click, and open the archive. Now this has a file folder in it. Within the file folder, if I double click, you cannot see the thumbnails, and that's because it's within a file folder. So if you're having trouble seeing your icons within zip files, you may want to extract it first. So let's go ahead and close that out. I'll go ahead and right click on the zip file, go to JZip, and extract to a new folder. Left click on that. Once that's extracted, I'll go ahead and scroll up. I'll find that folder, double click on it, and now you can see my thumbnails. Go ahead and use the large icons, and you can now see that information. Let's go ahead and you can see my designs. Now let's go back to the Generations Plus Automatic Icon Creator preferences. We'll just minimize this and left double click on the icon. At the bottom we have two options: always show icons and never thumbnails, which also makes the thumbnail into a small icon. It doesn't show larger icons or medium icons, it just shows the smallest. And then the display file icon, what that does is that will either show or not show the file association program icon in the bottom right hand corner. We saw that earlier with our Generations files. When we opened up my Generations folder, you could see that on the thumbnails at the bottom right hand side there was a Generations icon to let us know that it did open up with Generations. I'm going to deselect that. Now if I do want to show just icons and never the thumbnails, I can select this, but with this selected you'll notice that this option is grayed out. But I just want to always show my thumbnails. So we'll go ahead and press OK. And again, we may have to reboot to see these changes. I'm going to open up my Generations files, and when I open them up, notice in the bottom right hand side of these files, let's go ahead and make these really large, but I'm in the bottom right hand side of these files, I am not seeing my Generations icon. because it is associated with the Generations program to open. So let's close that out and go back to the preferences. The last part of the preferences is where I can select the units for inches or millimeters. And just by left clicking on each one, we'll choose either inches or millimeters. I can also change the background color. By left clicking on the fabric color, I can change the background color to appear as a different color than white. Press OK. We'll go ahead and press OK here. Again, we may have to reboot. So let's go to our Designs folder. I'll double click and open up My Designs. And now you can see that my designs have a gray background rather than that white. So with choosing the custom color, we can see now we have a different background color. We'll go ahead and close that out. Go back to the preferences, double click, and for the color order for DST, DSB, and older file formats or stitch file formats, we can click on color order and we can change this color order. We can change it to the default order just by left clicking on that, or if you want to change the color order, you can left click on what color you want to change and then find the color that you want to replace it with. Once you find the color you'd like to replace it with, left click on it and you can see color number 1 now changes to that yellow. I'll left click on 2. I'll find a pink and left click on that. Now color number 2 is pink. Color number 3, I'll left click, change the color, left click, and it just switches the colors out. We'll go ahead and press OK, and we do have to reboot for that one. We'll just press OK. So that does change the color order for the DST files. Now remember, with Generations Automatic Icon Creator, it is constantly running in the background. So when you are viewing your files through Windows Explorer, or any program that uses Windows Explorer to open or view files, Generations plus Automatic Icon Creator is running in the background. This is not a program that you have to start and exit out of. Anytime you double click on the icon, you're just accessing the preferences. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and should you have any questions, please contact Generations at techsupport@generationsemb.com. That's techsupport@generationsemb.com.